القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يعدي حقه المجتهدون الذي يرى ولا يرى وشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المقتولين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عدواتهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال جعفر بن محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام في حديثه الشريف، فقال: وارحم تلك القلوب التي جزعت واحترقت لنا. The sixth Imam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, as we're continuing his dua for the Zawar of Imam Hussain, last night we went through about 3/4 of the dua, which is in Al-Kafi, transmitted by Muawiyah ibn Wahab, going back with the chain of Kulaini back to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And in this dua, the Imam continues his praise and his blessings and his prayers for the Zuwar of Imam Hussain. And he describes them. He's now describing the Zuwar, those who visit the Imam in Karbala. And we believe, yani the ziyara, yani tasilu min al-ba'id wa min al-qarib, right? It reaches the Imam from near and far. So inshallah, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can also somehow be included in this dua of the Imam. It's a very powerful dua. He says, "Oh Allah, have mercy on the hearts التي جزعت واحترقت لنا. Have mercy on those hearts that are going through a profound grief. Not huzn. The Imam uses the term jaza, that these hearts are undergoing a process known as jaza. But not only that, these hearts are on fire. احترقت لنا. They are set on fire for us, for our cause. Imagine. Do we even understand what these words mean? What does it mean to mourn Imam al-Hussain? What is entailed by mourning the Imam who died in a state of thirst, the one for whom truly there was no nasir? Right, as we say in the ziyarah, man qutila bila nasir, that you were killed without any nasir, without anyone to help you, all alone, laying there at the banks of the Furat, at the shut of the Furat, with your lips quivering, dying of thirst, dying as a result of looking like a kunfud, like a porcupine covered in wounds, surrounded by animals who begin to assault you while you're laying disabled on the ground. But even this description cannot do justice to what the Imam is describing here. It cannot do justice. This overwhelming grief is also known as diddu sabr, which is a problem in the fiqh, isn't it? Jaza is generally makruh or not allowed. It is. If you look in the books of fiqh, it'll say that jaza is when someone's color changes as a result of grief, when they begin to hit their, yani latamat al-khid, they begin to hit their face, they tear the top of their shirt. These are all the alam of jaza, of what jaza is. So the accusation is that the Shia are performing shirk and bid'ah by engaging in these kinds of practices, and the Shia are killed because of it. But the question is this something which can be done away with? Is this a practice which we can sort of say, no need to do it? We can move on from it, and in the words of some people, civilize ourselves. Become civilized and mannered. And maybe can turn our Muharram lectures into a kind of seminar. This is the accusation, and unfortunately this accusation comes from some people who claim to be the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, who want to modernize the Jaza. And take it from me, I'm an outsider entering all of this. I came from outside of the fold of Islam. So I had to go through it from the beginning, through all these various stages to understand what's going on here. I still remember my first Muharram over a decade ago. And I saw all these people beating their chest. I did not understand it. I will be very honest. I looked at it, and I remember the chandelier was shaking back and forth. It must have been the night of Abu Fadl Abbas, I think. The chandelier was shaking because the latmiya, the matam becomes very hard on those nights. And I didn't understand it. I'll be honest, I said, you know what, I think this is extreme. I think this is a little too much. People were hitting their head, their face. You know what? I think this is a little bit extreme. I don't think this is civilized manner of behaving. But yet our Imam, if we claim to be the followers of the A'imma al-Ma'asumun, then we follow their sayings, not what we determine to be civilized. Who are we? Since when did we determine the meaning of civilization? Then we might as well be the Imam and throw the Imam aside. Yadha billah. What are the implications of it? Here the Imam is saying, وَارْحَمْ تِلْقَ الْقُلُوبِ الَّتِي جَزِعَتْ وَاحْتَرَقَتْ لَنَا. Have mercy on those hearts which are in a state of jaza' for us. But let me go further in order for all of us, inshallah, to be clear when we leave here. There are two particular reasons as to why jaza' is not haram. And in fact, it is mustahab, recommended, or even ordered. In some cases, wajib, perhaps. But definitely not haram, and definitely not makruh. Why? Two reasons. First reason is simply the A'imma themselves did it. I'm sorry, this is the reality. The A'imma themselves mourned for Imam Hussain in a state of jaza'. This is our 8th Imam who says that on the day of Hussain, أَقْرَحَ جَفُونَنَا. Our eyelids are torn. Now, of course, it is impermissible to threaten to harm one's life. That's something else. That's not jaza'. That's not jaza'. That's not the definition of jaza'. Jaza' is overwhelming grief. It's an explosion of grief. When your emotions can no longer be held inside you, they explode. Figuratively speaking. And this is jaza'. So one, the A'imma did it themselves. And brothers and sisters, as I said once again, if you wish to bring evidences otherwise, please do so. But in all the texts that I've studied, the books of the mujtahideen, of the ulama, min al-qudama wal mutaakhirin, I've not seen any objection to it with regards to the Ahlul Bayt and Imam Hussain. I've not seen any objection to it. What does Imam as-Sadiq tell Muhammad ibn Sinan al-Zahiri what to do on the day of Ashura? Listen to this very carefully. The Imam says, ثُمَّ لَيُنْدَبِ الْحُسَيْنِ. Then mourn for Imam al-Hussain and recite poetry for him. وَيَبْكِيهِ وَيَأْمَرُهُ مَنْ فِي دَارِهِ بِالْبُكَاءِ. And the one who is the sahib of his home on the day of Ashura must order the people in his home bilbuka, to cry. Order, ya'muruhu. Man fi darihi, the one that is in his home. So even if you have a guest staying in your home, man fi darihi. Usul al-kalam haqiqa. The fundamental of language is it's what is apparent and real. We don't need to interpret it as a metaphor, as a majaz. بالبكاء عليه, يعني with tears upon Imam Hussain. ويقيم في داره مصيبته, and to establish the musiba, the tragedy of Imam Hussain in his home. This is the Imam ordering what we must do in our home. This is in Kamil Ziyarat and the Misbah al-Mutahajjid of Sheikh al-Tusi. وبإظهار الجزع عليه, and to manifest jaza for the Imam. Not huzn. Not huzn. Huzn is sadness. Jaza is an explosion of grief, which often involves a changing of color of the skin or of the face, yelling, the matam, the hitting of the chest, the hitting of the cheeks. This is not a bid'ah. This is not even a culture. This is a sunnah of Ahlul Bayt. Now, of course, there are limits to this, and our Maraja have discussed that in their proper makan, in their proper place. But jaza' in and of itself is not only allowed, but recommended, and according to the Imam here, it is to be implemented in one's home. That, brothers and sisters, these black banners here are muqaddas, they are holy. Why are they holy? Because we are manifesting our commitment to the sunnah and the practice of the Ahlul Bayt. This is all a symbol of our jaza'. This is all a symbol of our sadness and our commitment and our tears to Hussein ibn Ali. Ashura is not a seminar. Muharram is not a time for a seminar. It is a time of mourning first and foremost. These are the sha'air of Hussein ibn Ali, and they can never be taken down. Never. The day that is taken down, we have lost our Imam altogether. Because it is not about the specific cloth. It is about what it represents. My dear youth, my dear shabab, you must take the torch of this tradition. This tradition can never be lost. We can never afford to lose it. By losing it, we have lost the Imam. By losing it, we have become Ahlul Bid'ah wa Tabdeel. We have then become, Yadha Billah, the people of Bid'ah. And this is not Bid'ah Hasana, this is Bid'ah Sayyah. We have become the people of innovation then, by taking it down. Do you see how I just turned the whole question, the accusation on its head? What they call us, what they accuse us of, what they say is bid'ah, for us is sunnah. To not do it is a bid'ah. To not have jaza' is a bid'ah. To not have huzn is a bid'ah. To not have marthiyah is a bid'ah. To not have these beautiful sha'air with the intention that I'm modernizing the azadari, the azah, is a bid'ah. And it's a bid'ah sayyah. It's an evil bid'ah and a tabdeel of the sunnah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdala salatu wassalam. What does our Imam say in Dua Nudbah? هل من جزوع فأساعد جزع إذا خلا. Is there anyone who is in a state of jaza, who is overwhelmed with grief, in whose grief I may share while he is in private, while he is alone? The Imam of our time is looking for people to be in a state of explosive and overwhelming grief with. This is in Dua Nudba. It is all over the du'as, the ad'iyah and the ziyarat, everywhere. Almost, we could have just 7-8 sessions on Jaza. The Imam of our time is searching amongst us. Maybe he will find one of us. Maybe he will come and sit with one of us when we are in our home on our musalla, crying for Abu Abdullah, perhaps reciting one of the ziyarah, perhaps remembering our Imam. Our Imam is looking for each and every one of us. Why? So that he may share in our jaza. Imagine. This is Dua Nutbah. And we have a whole series of traditions in which it is stated, and I'll quote, الجزع كله مكروه ما خلا الحسين ibn Ali. Brothers and sisters, this is ma'aloom, this is wadi, and this is mashhur in the tradition. Whether people's cultures and their ideologies and their own personal cultural baggage and problems have issues with it, that's for them to deal with on their own, but this is the sunnah and the tariq of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And as I said on the first night, there's nothing to be sorry about. There's nothing to be shy about. There's nothing to feel guilty about. And unfortunately, this trend of modernization, so-called modernization, what does that even mean? That's another issue. It's quite an arrogant word to use at times. Unfortunately, exists in certain parts of the Muslim world. And unfortunately, some of the so-called lovers of the Ahlul Bayt have bought into this idea. They've bought into it thinking would be better off getting rid of the matam. Just have a lecture and go home. Because we don't want to offend our brothers and sisters. What is this? Are we abusing someone in the matam? No. What is there to be afraid of? This matam represents something much more powerful, and that is a revolution in the hearts of the abna of Hussain ibn Ali. We are all the children of Hussain ibn Ali here. This matam represents a revolution. But for some people, they just want to listen to a lecture, be intellectually stimulated, maybe learn some great things about philosophy. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe say 1 or 2 salawats under their breath and go home. This is nothing but a betrayal of the memory of Imam Hussain. Plain and simple. And for me, I'm an outsider to all of this. Complete outsider to all of this. I was not born into any of this. I had to go step by step by step to prove it along the way, using all the masadir and the literature and the sources that we have available to us. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second reason as to why jaza' is not haram, but if anything, mustahab. The second reason is that we are not crying over a physical tragedy. I know a lot of the shabab, they tend to ask me this a lot because this always comes up in question and answer sessions. I know that. Every year these issues come up. This is very important to understand. We are not crying over a physical tragedy. This is very clear. We are crying over the death of Islam. We are not crying over a physical tragedy in and of itself, because in that case we would be in a state of Jaza for every single thing that we read in the news every single day. Interpretation, or whose interpretation? What is the basis for my interpretation? Let's go to the Imam of our time again, who says, لَقَدْ قُتِلُوا لَقَدْ قَتَلُوا بِقَتْلِكَ الْإِسْلَامِ. Imam al-Zaman says in Ziyarat al-Nahiya that by them killing you, they have killed Islam. وَعَطَّلُوا الصَّلَاةِ وَالصِّيَامِ. And they have abandoned the salat and the siyam. This is not my interpretation. This is not a 19th century, 21st century understanding of the death of Imam Hussain. This is the understanding of the Imam of our time, who said, with you, Islam was killed. Qatal. We are not crying over a physical tragedy in and of itself. We are mourning over the loss of La ilaha illallah, as the Imam continues to say, بِفَقْدِكَ, that with your loss, we lost the tahleel and the takbir. La ilaha illallah was murdered, and Allahu Akbar was murdered and killed the moment your head was ripped from your shoulders. The moment your infant son's throat was pierced for no reason. La ilaha illallah was dead, gone. This is from Ziyarat al-Nahiya, this is from the words of the Imam. And many, many other references to this in the Masadir literature, in the literature of our ancient books. Why? Because, my dear brothers and sisters, the one who says La ilaha illallah cannot take the head of the grandson of the Prophet. There is no La ilaha illallah in these people. They're not even human beings. The one that can sever and beat the lips which were kissed by the Holy Prophet cannot recite La ilaha illallah. These are not human beings that we are dealing with. And the Imam goes on to say, and with your death, حَدَمُوا قَوَاعِدَ الْإِيمَانِ, the principles and fundamentals of Iman and faith was destroyed when you were killed. Why? Because no one in this universe can claim to be a mu'min and torture and murder the ones that they have been commanded to show mawadda and love and mercy towards. Leave aside any human being. These killers of Imam al-Hussein were not human beings. They were monsters. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Back to the dua of the Imam. So I hope this is clear now on Jaza. I hope it is clear. If you have any questions, please see me after. The Imam continues, وَارْحَمْ السَّرْخَةَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ لَنَا, and have mercy on the scream that is for our sake. That when we begin to scream Labbaik Ya Hussein, we should remember that every scream has the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in it. Can you imagine? The Imam is making dua for every scream of ours which are done التي كانت لنا, done for our sake. There's no such thing as quiet, as you know, okay, we're going to have a azab, but no one raise your voice. Huh? I remember I was in a majlis once. I swear, I'm not kidding. I was in a majlis once, and the person took the name of one of the ma'asum, so we recited Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad loudly. Allahumma salli ala bi'arfa aswatikum. And everyone turned around and looked at me. Like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Even when they did, Assalamu alaikum ya Abu Abdullah. They look, Assalamu alaikum. And then they go home. Khalas. What kind of majlis is this? Show some emotion. These emotions are the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing to feel guilty and sorry about. But unfortunately, some groups of people think they're too cool for school, so to speak. No better than the A'immah. Or maybe they're jahil of it. May Allah educate them and guide them, inshallah. So this is an evidence that Jaza out loud is not only there's no problem in it, but there's rahmah in it. Then the Imam says, Allahumma inni astawdi'uka tilka al-anfus wa tilka al-abdan. That these souls and bodies that have come to visit my grandfather, Imam Hussain, I am giving these to you as an amana. Can you imagine the souls and the bodies of the visitors of Imam Hussain are an amana in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hatta nuwafihim ala al-hawd yawm al-atash. That these bodies and souls will remain as a gift of sorts, as a wadi'ah, as an amana, handed over to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the Imam until the Ahlul Bayt will meet us at the pond of Hawd on the Day of Judgment. Can we imagine that our bodies and our souls become an amana in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, metaphorically speaking, of course. This is metaphorical speech. I don't mean it literally. Imagine. And someone will say this is shirk and bid'ah and cultural. Woe to them. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Furthermore, my dear brothers and sisters, what more can we ever desire? Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Meaning, when we have brothers and sisters in Iraq and Syria and Pakistan dying almost 1,000 a month, just because they're walking to a Hussainiyah, that there are brothers and sisters tonight who are either dying or in threat or in risk of losing their life as we speak tonight. Why? Because they are attending the majlis of Imam Hussain. And there are millions on the road towards Karbala, all of them in danger. We come here in comfort, with heat, with light, with a mosque, mashallah, that is so beautiful and organized, the Hussainiyah. We have absolutely no right to complain. Zero. Yet, sometimes we have trouble in attendance. If only people realized how many aitam are created every night because of people attending the Hussainiyah. How many orphans, how many people are orphaned? Thousands. All over the world. Why? Because they want the privilege that we have here. Sitting here in comfort, relaxed. We get to listen to a lecture, we get to do latmiyah, brothers and sisters are being blown to pieces, but still doing the latmiyah. Every single night. Women, children, men dying. If we don't value the institution that we've built in the West, then we are surely among the ungrateful. What are our complaints, honestly, if there are? When we compare ourselves to our brothers and sisters, the fellow lovers of Ahlul Bayt, Ahlul Wilaya, who are putting everything on the line every single night just to get a spot in the majlis of Imam Hussain, just to get a spot if they can fit into the Hussainiyah. Secondly, if this is not a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know what is. The continuation of this institution. Think about this, ya shabab, think about this. If any other leader, if any other followers of another leader were put under this much pressure over 1400 years, nearly 1400 years, 1390 years about, or 1380 years, wouldn't people give up? Wouldn't they finally just say, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm finished. Enough. We're not going to do it anymore. We're going to stop. Yet it only grows. Millions after millions after millions after millions. This is the greatest mu'ajiza, the greatest miracle. And if we don't realize it, if we don't understand it, then we are the losers. We are the khasirun. Yet if we have trouble in attendance, we have trouble in contributing financially or otherwise to the establishment of this majlis, even though we are able to, we are the khasirun. We are the losers then. Honestly. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll end with a narration, and then tomorrow night the topic will inshallah be about the meaning of rajuliyah, manhood. So do come. It will be inshallah about what it means to be a man in the light of the seerah of Abi Fadl al-Abbas. So tomorrow night we're going to switch gears for the rest of the nights now. We're going to go through the various attributes of Imam Hussain and his companions, and we're going to begin to ask ourselves certain difficult questions. So tomorrow night we're going to talk about, inshallah, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, but what it means to be a man. Ar-rajuliyya in Arabic. And probably most of our misconceptions will be, inshallah, removed after that, after we look at the life. I want to end with a narration, a very short narration, because last night I had mentioned that the majlis that we are participating in is a product of the dua of Sayyidah Zahra. It is the ijaba of her dua. It is the response to her dua, that we are all her duyuf and her guests here. And I'll relate to you a very short story, and then you can, inshallah, move on to the next lecture. Although I did start 5 minutes late today. Sayyidah Sakina in Damascus relates to us from, in the book of Ibn Tawus, the following story, where she says that one night I was sleeping in the dungeon of Banu Umayyah. وَرَأَيْتُ إِمْرَأَةً رَاكِبَةً, and I saw a woman riding on a donkey, or a mule rather, hawdaj, on a mule towards me. مَوْضُوعَةً عَلَى رَأْسِهَا, يعني يدها موضوعة على رأسها, and this lady had her hand on her head. She was riding on a donkey coming towards me. This is Sakina bint al-Hussain narrating her dream, her manam, her dream to us. فسألت عنها فقيل لي هذه فاطمة بنت محمد. And I asked her whom she was, and she told me, I am Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad. She says, Wallah, I wanted to pour my heart out to her, and I ran towards this woman. Imagine, Sayyidah Zahra is riding on a mule. Her hand is on her holy muqaddas head. Sayyidah Sakina runs towards her grandmother. فَوَقَفْتُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا وَأَبْكِي. She says, I stood in front of her and I began to cry. وَأَقُولُ يَا أَمَّا. And I told her, oh my mother, Ya Amma jahadu wallahi haqqana. Ya Amma wallahi they have fought our right. Ya Amma badadu wallahi shimlana. Ya Amma wallah they have desecrated and destroyed our family. Ya Amma istabahu wallahi harimana. Wallah, ya, oh my mother, they have made our sanctity now haram to be taken away from us. Rather, they have made it halal to be taken away from us. Ya Amma, qatalu wallahi al-Hussain abana. Ya Amma, wallah, they have killed our father Hussein. فقالت لي كف بصوتك يا سكينة. Oh Sakina, keep your voice down. فَقَدْ قُطِعَتْ نِيَاتَ قَلْبِي. For the strings of my heart are breaking at hearing this news. Then she says, she turns to Sakina and she tells her, هَذَا قَمِيسُ أَبِيكَ الْحُسَيْنِ. This is the shirt of your grandfather Hussein. This is the bloodied shirt which Sayyidah Zahra will come on the Ma'ashar with on the Day of Judgment. She will walk on the Ma'ashar with the bloody shirt of her son. She says, لا يفارقني حتى ألقى الله به. Wallah, I will not part from this shirt until I meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with it on the Day of Judgment. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم عدواتهم إلى يوم الدين وسيعلم الذين يغلبون.